John and Fiona Prine graciously invited us into their Nashville home. Our day began with a chat in the family living room, where we discussed Prine's decades-long career and the success of his latest album, The Tree of Forgiveness.
So how does it feel to get Grammy nominations now? It's been 46 years since the first time.
Really great. I mean, it does. I didn't expect I didn't know when I'd get another Grammy nomination. I didn't even know that it had been that long since I put a record out. I thought it was like 6 years or something. My family reminded me that I hadn't done one in 13 years.
When you got the first nomination, though, 46 years ago, what did that feel like?
That was pretty neat. It was for Artist of the Year. It was the Eagles. I was talking to somebody last night about the Eagles, Loggins and Messina, the group America for Horse with No Name, and Harry Chapin. And America won. Whenever I'd see the guys from the Eagles over the years, they lament that, like, we sure wrote A Horse with No Name, but that was the first Grammy nomination. I got nominated over the years, but I never won one until the missing years, and I guess that was '92. That was the first Grammy I took home.
And people always say it's an honor just to be nominated.
And it's really nice to win, too.
Yeah, so you want to win.
Yeah, but actually, I find that as far as all the publicity behind it and everything, the day after the Grammys, people don't know whether you, like, unless you took the big prize home, they don't know whether you, were the guy that actually won it or just got nominated. Right. So it's pretty good all the way around.
Yeah. And you've been nominated for 3 Big Door prizes.
I have, yeah.
Did you know when you wrote this album or when you put this album out that you were headed for what happened?
I had no idea. I mean, it caught me by surprise, really. I mean, my records always generally they get well received. The press is always usually happy to see one, and my fans that come to the shows, they're ecstatic over a new record because I don't put them out that often. But this one just started running and didn't stop. So I had to just figure a way to keep up with it. But it's been a wild year. It has.
Tell me about the process for this album.
Well, okay, initially, our son Jody, who runs Oh Boy Records now, and my wife Fiona, who's managing me, they came to me and said, they said more or less, well, actually, they said, it's time to make a record. And I went, what are you talking about? I just made one. It was 13 years ago. And they said, we booked time at Studio A with Dave Cobb, and they knew that I wanted to work with Dave. I'd met him before, and we talked about it. I said, well, when I get 10 songs together, I'll give you a call. And they booked time with him, and they booked me a suite at the Omni Hotel downtown Nashville, the one that's hooked up to the Country Music Hall of Fame. They know I like to go there. Like, anytime somebody comes to town, we have a guest at the house, I always drag them down there because it's a fun place to go to. And so they booked me into a suite, and I arrived with 3 guitars. I looked like Howard Hughes, 10 boxes of unfinished lyrics. I didn't know I had unfinished lyrics. I just knew I had scraps of paper somewhere. So these 10 boxes of lyrics, there was 2 bellboys that took me up to the room with all the guitars in the boxes. And Fiona and Jody knew that I operate better out of a hotel room than I do at home. At home I got all kinds of excuses I can come up with it. But like I'm a late night person. I like to stay up, and that's when I do my best work, is at night. I got the TV blaring and my guitar is going, and and I can write down these ideas I get. So they gave me it was like, when you get out of the hotel, you're gonna have to go into the studio, so you better have some songs. So I had more than I thought. I had the unfinished ones were just a matter of sitting down and doing a verse here, a verse there. I came up with 2 or 3 new ones while I was up there in the hotel. These ideas have been going around for years, and nobody ever told me to sit down and write them. Yeah. So that was the process of the beginning of it before we got in the studio.
Did anybody in the neighboring rooms call the front desk and say, Howard Hughes is in the next room making a lot of noise?
No, but all the guys delivering, you got 24-hour room service. You know, they'd come up there and hear me banging away on the guitar and delivering food to me at all different hours. And there's a nice staff down there. I felt comfortable there. It was the right place to put me because I wouldn't have got that work done here at the house.
And so you're there with a tape recorder, your guitars, and I mean, are you recording what you're writing, or are you like how's it working there in the hotel room?
The last thing I do is commit it to tape. Okay. Usually, you know, I may just to see if I got the right. I'm real picky about syllables. Like I like enough. It's like the Chuck Berry School of Songwriting. You want to have a syllable for every note, you know, or at least the word has to hit your ear right. I mean, I can have the right word for what the line in a song is supposed to mean, but if it doesn't sound right to me, I'll pick a really goofy word just to throw in there, the one that sounds good, you know. I figure they can figure out what it means later on, yeah. I don't have to supply what the song means. I just have to write the darn thing.
Right, right. And sometimes they'll stuff entire meaning into an enchilada.
That's true.
But that's that's a story for another time. So you emerge from the hotel room and then you go directly right to the.
A week later, I was in the studio, and in between that time, once I got out of the hotel, I was out of the work mode.
Yeah.
You know, but by that time, I was excited about going into the studio because I actually did have 10 songs I liked, and I didn't know that. So if my family wouldn't have pushed me into it, I would have still been just walking around going, oh, I'll make a record, maybe next year, you know, something like that.
Your songs, because they have those attention to detail, scraps that you've picked up from here and there, it feels like you're always writing songs, you're always listening. So is that right or no?
Well, I don't consider it work, you know. I mean, I'll get some of my best ideas behind a steering wheel rather than behind a guitar. Mm-hmm. I think it's all got to do with my idea of work. You know, when I first started writing songs, that was my getaway. It was my getaway from the world and from my job and everything. I'd go home and write a song. But now it's my job, so it feels like it too. Yeah. Like, you know, you have to make an appointment with somebody in order to co-write with them, and I prefer to co-write with just friends. That way, if you don't get a song out of it, you've not wasted your day. You know.
Yeah, you've just
had
a nice
hung out
afternoon.
with a friend. You know. My favorite thing is to go to lunch. You know, usually I'll sit down and write with a co-writer. I'll write 2 lines and go, "You getting hungry yet?" You know, because we can waste a lot of time going to a restaurant. Yeah.
Is that how it is with a song that you work on it, step away from it, I mean, how does that process work when it comes down to getting the lines? You talked about the rhyme, but is it?
Well, some of the people like my buddy Pat McLaughlin, I love writing with Pat because we sit there and like have conversation. And then all of a sudden, he'll shout out a line for the song, and I'll come back with something like an answer, you know. And when it works, we get into it. And the thing I like is I don't like sitting there feeling like we're forced to come up with something that what you ultimately want is a song that you'll want to sing forever. I tell people when people ask me for advice about songwriting, I just say, make sure you write something you like, because the worst thing that can happen is it becomes a hit. And everywhere you go and every day of your life, you'll be expected to sing that song. Yeah. So don't write something goofy for like thinking it'll go to number 1, because it might go to number 1 and tag you're it. Yeah.
You've been singing songs that you wrote in the late 60s, early 70s.
I know, and luckily I really like the songs. You know, I don't think I've ever done a show without singing the songs "Sam Stone" or "Hello in There" or "Paradise." I think I sing those every time I do a show. I don't think I ever leave them out.
Let me ask you about Hello in There and that first album, now that you've mentioned it. Particularly Hello in There and Angel from Montgomery. These are songs, you were how old when you wrote those?
22,
Yeah.
21, 22.
So you're 22, 21, writing stories about an old woman, and Hello in There is about people who are much older. Where was that coming from? How does somebody in their early 20s know about?
I mean, growing up, I was real close to my grandparents on both sides. They just treated me like I was, I don't know, like something off a Christmas tree, and like because of them, when I'd meet other, like on a newspaper route or something, I'd meet other elderly people. I felt an affinity for them. I found that if you talk to them a little bit, then they'll start telling. They got loads of stories to tell. And that kind of came natural to me to write that song. It was a matter of I was too inexperienced to know what I was doing. Yeah. There was no boundaries. And I was writing the songs for myself. I wasn't writing them thinking I was ever going to stand on a stage and sing my songs for anybody. Yeah. And that all happened within a 2-year period. Yeah. That all changed.
When you then become John Prine, which happens pretty quickly, do you then have to kind of unlearn being John Prine to get back to the place where you're just writing songs for yourself?
That's a good question. When I go to write anymore, luckily I have a never-ending thing of crazy ideas, and if I dig far enough, some of those might be really good ones, but they're always there. Like even if I don't write for a couple of years, when I go to write, if I spend enough time with it, there's something down there always. It's very rare that if I actually take the time to look into it, that what I'm trying to explain is my thoughts are not my own. I have no control over them. And if I kind of just let it go abandon, there'll be a lot of junk there, and then there'll be a gem. And if there is, it's like one thing leads to another. You get a good idea and you follow it long enough. But Hello in There was a real gift though to write that song. I mean, the melody was especially. I knew less at that time about playing the guitar than if somebody would teach me one new song. If it had 1 or 2 chords in it, I would go off and write a song with those chords rather than learn somebody else's song. It was so amazing to me. So I took every guitar chord I knew at the time, and that became the melody to Hello in There. Mm-hmm. I mean, I more or less threw them in a hat and played them in that order, and luckily they came out really good.
Yeah, that's a pretty good hat.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was. I wish I knew where that hat was.
And off that same album, Souvenirs, that's a deep song, and you wrote it
in a car on the way to the club, the Fifth Peg. I thought I'd played there 3 Thursdays in a row for 50 cents a person, and they gave me a quarter, and they kept the other quarter. And I thought the same 12 people were going to be there, and I figured they're probably expecting me to come up with another song, so they don't sing the same old songs like Sam Stone and Hello in There and that. And I wrote it for one new song so I could lay it on them. And when I got to the club, I realized I had the melody in my head, but to me, the melody sounded like jazz. It sounded like I had about 14 guitar chords, and like a Beatles song or something. And I went in the men's room and put my guitar around my neck and stood in front of the mirror, and I played the song, and it was like 3 chords, the same 3 chords I played in Paradise or something, yeah. And I just went up and sang the song for the first time, you know, and it was a pretty one. It stuck all these years.
Well, and that's a song where, you know, the line, I hate graveyards and old pawn shops,
Yeah.
because they always bring me tears. I mean, that feels like you obviously had that thought through the course of your life, and then suddenly it arrives into a song.
Yeah, well, it turns out I love pawn shops. You know, I don't hate them. I like to go see other people's junk, you know. But I thought it went good with the graveyard thing. So
You mentioned on Sam Stone, I heard you once talk about it, and you talked about the broken radio that's in the song. And is that how it works? And so describe the broken radio, where that comes from.
it came from a couple of different sources. My father loved to, he didn't watch much TV, and he kept this old black Zenith radio in the kitchen, and he would prop the window up open with it so he could face it towards the south. We grew up in a western suburb of Chicago. He would face the radio towards the south to pick up WSM, or we had a really good country station in Chicago as well, WJJD, and that's all he listened to was country music. And that black Zenith radio had gotten dropped on the floor a few times. It had a bunch of black electricians tape around it. And I just remember if I wanted to sit and talk with him, I had to listen to country music, and he'd be drinking beer and pour me an orange soda. And he'd talk politics with me, and I'm 6 years old, you know. And he used to take me to his favorite bar every once in a while. Everybody knew me. They give me nickels for the pinball machine and everything. Yeah. And I'm getting away from your question, though.
Good.
Okay, so, and then I was a postman, and we'd listen to the radio while we were sorting our mail in the morning. And it was hooked to a really long extension cord, which people trip over. So that radio got beat up on the floor a couple of times. It had the same tape on it that my dad's radio did. And okay, so now I'm remembering exactly when I got the idea for Sam Stone. I used to read all the magazines at lunchtime, and I'd deliver them to the people. And I'd try and make sure I didn't get ketchup on them, you know, and stuff. And I was reading Time magazine, and a book in there that had just come out. The title was Yellowback Broke Down Radio, and had such a great sound to it, you know, phonetically. Mm-hmm. And I remembered that, and I started messing with the image of broken radios. And I always liked, in An Angel from Montgomery, I'd use the word rodeo. Rodeo and radio is a great word. If you look into it, it's in loads of songs, because it's just a great sounding word, yeah. Mm-hmm. But broken radios, and then that kind of fed into the story about this veteran. And I wrote pretty much the whole thing on my mail route. And I went home and I couldn't find any paper to write it on. And my wife at the time had gone to work, and she left the cardboard from a brand new set of pantyhose. And I wrote Sam Stone on the back of 3 of those cardboard things, and just so I wouldn't forget it. But it was a pretty long thing to keep. I mean, I wrote pretty much while I was walking on the mail route. Same with hello in there. You got loads of time on your hands on a mail route.
Yeah.
You know you're on the right street, and you've been there just yesterday putting the mail in there. So you're free to kind of daydream all day.
The reason I was interested in the broken radio is it's sometimes, when I've heard you describe your songs, you'll grab one of those beautiful specific images.
Yeah.
It feels like sometimes the image is the thing around which the pearl of the song is built. Is that the way it goes?
Yeah. You know, because it takes something like one strong image to pull the rest of it out, and then from there on in, it's more of a craft, you know. But you got to have that one kind of burning coal to keep looking at, or keeps coming up in the song, and that's what draws the other stuff out. Yeah. And
so now you've been inducted into the
Songwriters Hall of Fame.
What does that feel like?
Well, it's really great. I mean, about 8 years ago, I was inducted into the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame, which was really great for me because, like I say, I was always a big fan of country music, and my dad's love for it. That's my dad and my mom's love for country music. My mom used to sing it while she was cooking us dinner. And like I say, my dad would be listening to it on the radio all the time. And to be inducted into that one was really great because I had a bunch of friends in there. And to find out got a bunch of new friends in the Songwriters Hall of Fame. I mean, I'm in there with Gershwin and all those people, Bob Dylan. You know,
Yeah.
It's like, it's really great. Yeah.
And do you feel like, does it feel like payoff for a lot of hard work? Does it feel, what's the emotion other than hey, this is neat?
Well, I'm getting a lot of that lately. I'm getting a lot of, stuff from that's accumulated. It's for your whole career. I always stayed away from the word career. I never would say, when somebody would go, oh, my career, I would think, wow, I'm glad I don't have one. I just have work, And, but now when you look back on it, it feels like a career.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been doing this 47 years, 48 years, something like that. Yeah. And any other job, you'd be a fool to still be working after 48 years. But it gets better each day, really. I had a lot of fun on the road this year. I got a great band, and all I have to do is show up and make sure I can sing that day.
Yeah. You talked about your grandparents, and you said with them you just asked them questions and they would tell you stories. Are your grandparents where you got your storytelling?
Actually, my mom was a great storyteller. My mom had nicknames for everybody in her town. She grew up in Paradise. Mm-hmm. My dad spent part of his time there, but he was from the same area. But my mother actually was born and raised in Paradise, Kentucky. Mm-hmm. And everybody in the town had a weird nickname or a story about them, Fiona used to go with me to, we used to go to my family reunions, and the closer it got to reunion time, the more my mother would remember. She'd get around her sisters, and they all had different stories about the same people with the same nicknames, mm-hmm. And she was a natural born storyteller. My dad wasn't, after he got a couple of beers in me, he could tell a lot of stories too,
In your most recent album, when you write about getting to heaven, you talk about
right.
Meeting your mother, sisters, reconnecting with that family. You also have pictures of them when you play, right? Don't you have pictures of them?
On my table.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot of pictures of my boys and my mother's picture, and I just keep them all on that table with all my picks and my bottles of water. I used to smoke on stage, and I used to come out with a 6-pack. They'd put a stool out on stage, and they'd mistakenly put the stool in front of the microphone like I was going to sit on it like a folk singer. The stool was for my 6-pack in the ashtray. And before, in every song, I'd light up while I was telling a story. I put the cigarette in the ashtray, and I'd sing the song, and the cigarette would be gone by the time I got done, so I'd fire up another one. So now I drink water instead of beer in between songs, and the water is also my cigarette.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're not smoking anymore. You've had cancer twice.
Yeah.
Have those experiences changed the way you viewed all of the accolades you've gotten this year, the Grammy nominations, the Songwriters Hall of Fame, and also the success of this album has led to an outpouring of people who, they just heap praise upon you. What does that feel like? Just what does that feel like, first of all, having all of that praise?
Actually, because I've been doing it this long, it feels pretty darn good. 10 years ago or however many years ago, I might have shied away from that. That might have been a little too much for me to take in at one time. But this whole thing, this last record, The Tree of Forgiveness, it's been a family project, Mm-hmm. And so when I think I've had a little bit too much of this all this really glorified stuff. I remember that my family has never experienced this before. So, like, it's a really good thing. At the end of the day, it's all about the family, you know.
Well, that's what strikes me about, you write about the family in the Tree of Forgiveness. The family was what got you into the hotel room to write the Tree of Forgiveness. It's a
Right.
family project with Oh Boy Records.
Exactly.
You've got the pictures when you play, you take them on the road with
I
you.
got the pictures to prove I have a family. Yeah.
Right. Family is wrapped through this whole.
It really is. I mean, I couldn't or I wouldn't have done this, you know, without my family.
Let me go back to asking you about the cancer, though. Do you reflect on it differently, given that you struggled through that twice?
Yeah, I mean, there's part of me that's grateful for the lesson that cancer teaches you. You know, you can't help but go through something like that, no matter what kind of individual you are, what kind of background you got. You can't help but go through a bout of cancer and come out the other end and have the doctor say, we don't need to see you anymore. You don't have to come here. And you can't go through that without feeling a little bit, no matter how much you thought you enjoyed life, you just enjoy it just that much more. It puts another little glaze on everything. And to go through it twice, the second time I almost felt like I was telling the doctor what his job was, you know. He said, what do you want me to do? I said, I want you to go in there and cut it out, come back to me and say, John, you don't have cancer anymore. And that's exactly what they did. Yeah. And the second time I was really lucky. Because of the having cancer before and going for so many checkups, they saw the second cancer coming way down the road. You know, they would have never saw that if I hadn't been going for chest x-rays every 6 months and stuff. So when they did that one, they didn't have to do any radiation or chemo, the second one. They cut it out and it was gone. That was it.
And tell me about your retraining regimen before you went back on the road, because you tour a lot now, and just describe what you went through to retrain to be able to.
Well, the second cancer I had was I got part of my left lung taken out, and I got together with this buddy who was a trainer. And we loved spending time together. We couldn't talk enough, and he also played the guitar part-time, like an amateur guitar player, but he really enjoyed asking me questions about playing and doing my stuff and writing and stuff. And he came back, and I had worked with him earlier to try and just keep myself healthy and lose a few pounds. And when I got the lung cancer, I got that cut out, he came to my house, and he had seen me do shows before. So he made me run up and down the flight of stairs 3 times, and he'd throw a guitar around my neck and make me sing 2 songs, like when I was out of breath. And he did all this so I wouldn't run out of breath on stage. Yeah. And I thought, when I was going through all that, I felt like I was in boot camp or something. You know, I said, how did I get back to doing this? You know, I became a singer so I could be lazy. You know, and I'm running up and down stairs.
Did you always sing the same 2 songs, or did you
No,
vary it?
he had a list of songs. He would tell me the songs he wanted to hear.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Next, we made our way into the study. John and his wife Fiona, who is also his manager, shared some of the artifacts of the singer's career.
Just because they called this room, when we moved here, this is the library, we put every book that we'd ever read or not read or was packed away in boxes before, because they're shelves.
Right.
So 3/4 of these books I've never seen, let alone read.
I have.
Fiona
Yeah.
reads a lot. She's probably read everything there. I read I'll read music biographies and stuff. I start in the middle. I never start. If I start in the middle and I get 3 or 4 chapters, then I might go back to the first page and see where the person was born.
Right, see if they're interesting enough to be worth the investment.
Yeah. But I just like good stories.
He likes Archie comics.
Archie comics. I'm a big Archie fan.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Childhood, I liked that, and I like I like the pretty colors of a comic book. I get them in the mail at the end of the month, and it's kind of nice. And I have it addressed to Johnny Prine, age 72. You know, and there's something about getting a fresh Archie comic book. You know, it's just kind of nice.
You know, you mentioned Johnny Prine. That's what your mother used to call you, right?
Yeah.
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 So, Fiona, tell me the difference between Johnny Prine and John Prine.
I think Johnny Prine is a little guy. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that Johnny Prine is still around,
Oh
right?
gosh, yes.
Oh, yeah, he gets
Yes.
away with anything.
Yeah. But John does have that childlike innocence, you know. I mean, things that you know, he loves Christmas, he loves his family, Archie comics, you know, simple things. Not necessarily childish things, but simple things.
This is late
That's
into
Johnny.
January.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And there's a
And there's his Christmas tree.
And is that Christmas tree is up year round?
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be.
Yeah.
It's the first year in this house, but I've had other houses where the trees didn't stay in really good shape. I kept them up when I was a bachelor, and I'd spray the tree with lemon pledge, and just keeps the dust off of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that your own innovation, or had you read somewhere that lemon pledge was a good idea?
No, but it was an artificial tree. I thought you can't water it.
Shine it up a little
You
bit.
can't water it, so let's spray it with lemon pledge.
So you'd turn it into a flammable rocket by covering it in lemon pledge.
Just in case the house caught on fire, so the tree would go up too.
Right. It would look real pretty. Have you always been a fan of Christmas?
Yeah, I love Christmas. Yeah.
What are the 45s that are hanging? On
Well,
the
I think
Christmas
they
tree?
make it even look prettier. You know?
Yeah. These are the
light on those color.
these are
little
the this
color-
was the first Oh Boy
Oh, that
release.
one's warped. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
John put out. This was when he first started Oh Boy Records, right?
Yeah.
When did Oh Boy start?
1981.
Yeah.
We started with this record, with I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus and Silver Bells on the other side. The only place you could get them was Ernst Tubbs record store down Lower Broadway. There in the mail. We'd sell them in the mail. And we got a really good response to it initially, so I ended up making an album for Oh Boy, and we, our fans really helped us out. They helped get the record company started. Everybody supported us, the people that come see us live. We'd leave little 3x5 cards, and they'd fill them out. This is before the internet. We had this whole network of people that we knew we could sell records to. They were some of them would send checks in before I went in the studio and told me the next record, whatever you call it, here's the money, like send it to us.
Wow.
So yeah,
And people send him Christmas ornaments now too.
Ah, to note it, right.
Yeah, this is from the first show of the Tree of Forgiveness tour was at Radio City.
just in case you get hungry, there's a
There's
hot
a hot dog, yeah.
right next to a red bird.
Bacon and eggs. Anyway,
This tree is going to stay up.
this is the perennial Christmas
You'll be
tree.
getting lemon pledge around
Yeah.
the 4th of July. Yeah.
He's got his Betty and Veronica book back in here.
Oh, Archie Comics sent me a bunch of books.
Look at this. It's the art of Betty and Veronica.
Oh.
See? So it's all of just pictures of the girls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have to watch what I say now, what I like, because I mentioned I like hot dogs with mustard, and I got a year's supply of both the hot dogs and the mustard. You know, you just mentioned that you like something
true.
now, and people send it to you.
And
I like Cadillacs.
Yeah.
do you take your own mustard on the road with you?
Yeah, I carry in my bag that I carry on the plane.
Yep.
Yeah. Usually I carry a tube of Coleman's mustard.
Yeah.
You know, that'll spice up anything.
He digs
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
He digs
Yeah.
everything. Maple syrup.
And have you always done that? And where did
Yeah,
that habit
it's,
come
it's
from?
a need.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you hate to run out of stuff when you know you could have it with you.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd also imagine when you're on the road, I know this from being on the road with politics all the time. When you're on the road, it can be kind of lonely, or you're in unfamiliar places. So if you surround yourself,
Right, with familiar stuff, then you're just, the road gets tough, though. It gets tough out there.
yeah,
You know, I mean, when you know your way in the dark around the hotel rooms, you start wondering if you should be staying out there this long.
what's the hardest part about being on the road as much as you are?
Well, I would say over the years, the hardest part was missing your family, like missing my kids growing up and that. But now that Fiona's managing me and her are out there together, so I never have to tell her how lousy the hotel was. She's the first one that says.
I think I have upgraded it a little bit, though, since I've joined them, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the hotel rooms are getting nicer, and the dressing rooms are getting nicer, too.
He deserves it.
Yeah. Do you notice the different classes of hotels? You know, if you don't have to unwrap the cup in the bathroom, you're staying in a slightly nicer hotel.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But that's the kind of stuff I throw in the bag and take with me. You know, anything that won't break. You know?
Yeah. Are you a hoarder, John Prine?
No. I use everything I steal. I mean, I borrow. I like taking silverware from hotels. Watch out. I come home and Fiona will find it's wrapped up in the napkin.
And those cheap napkins.
If I order something for myself, I always tell them that there's 2 dining. So they'll send an extra set of silverware. I take that one, put it in my suitcase, and then use the other one.
You're always ready.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. Yeah,
Right.
I'd like to have a steak dinner and have no silverware.
Yeah, you just have to look at it.
Right.
Or not.
Close the curtains and gnaw on the steak.
John, tell me about that review on the wall.
Well, that was actually from Georgetown, D.C. One of the first places where that took off for Steve Goodman and me was playing the old, what's the name of it now?
The cellar door?
The cellar door.
Yeah.
And we used to do a week there at a time. And we turned people away when, oh, never mind. That's another story.
It's a different story.
But this one,
Keep going.
this guy, this critic didn't like my show because there was a girl down the street that sang like cabaret music, and she didn't have anybody, and we're turning people away, and he said basically all I did was like drink my beer and mumble and scratch my head and then sing in an awful voice, and he couldn't understand why she wasn't getting some of the people that we were turning away. So he wrote this song, entertaining as a dog bite. And actually, I talked about this review before, and his son came to
His son
Wolf
came
Trap.
to Wolf Trap.
really?
Yeah, that's where you were at.
Yeah, he tried to bring his dad down there.
Yeah.
His dad's been retired for years, but he's been reminded before about this. But I kept it.
He did say his dad had changed his mind over the years.
Won him over.
I kept it because I thought it was humorous. Yeah.
Well, and you also had another early review that was Roger Ebert saw you play one
Right.
of your first.
I was still a mailman, and that's when I was singing one day a week on a Thursday. And Roger stopped in, and he walked out of a movie that he didn't like, and stopped in to get a beer, and the music room was in the back, and somebody told him while he was having that beer that he should go catch this kid because, he's really something. And next day, Roger took his whole back page of the Sun-Times entertainment section and wrote the singing mailman delivers the message. I never had an empty seat after that. Really
That's
great.
pretty good. Yeah. So this one didn't matter when you got Roger Ebert on your
Oh,
side.
yeah, right. Exactly.
Fiona, John told the story of being sent off packing to write the album. What were you thinking when you said, okay, it's time for you to go write an album?
Well, I knew it was time that he write a record. We had just taken over the record company about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And we needed a product. We needed a new John Prine product. And I knew he had songs because I'd been listening to him for the last couple of years, just noodling around and doing some co-writing with friends, with Pat McLaughlin. I was in the kitchen when he and Pat wrote Summer's End. And that had been 2 years previously. And so I knew he had songs, but I also knew he needed to get it stuck to him. I mean, John's not going to do it unless it's down to the wire.
That's true.
Is that true with things around the house as well?
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh, yeah.
Fiona's still waiting for me to fix things around the
He's
house.
not a DIY type person.
No.
No.
She'd probably faint if she saw me with a hammer in my hand.
Yeah. I just keep reminding myself he's an artist.
But he always has an extra set of silverware. So
He does, and or mustard or ketchup or maple syrup or, Yeah, but Jody and I, we both knew we needed a record, and we knew that he had one, and that we just needed to get his attention. And so you get him a really nice suite in a really nice hotel.
That gets my attention
That gets
every
his
time.
attention, yeah.
Well, I could see how you could get distracted in a room like this if you were writing
Yeah.
songs at home, because
Yeah.
this is a pretty nice setup
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, you're telling me.
Yeah.
I spend just about every waking hour in this room.
Yeah, he loves it.
Right. And that's where you're watching Jeopardy and
Jeopardy, Wheel of Fortune, and CBS This Morning.
got that,
does.
folks.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, every day. That's the guitar. That's the one I wrote probably all 90% of the songs. Certainly all the early songs were written on that. I bought this new in 1968. I got out of the Army in December '67. I had an old Gibson Hummingbird, and it had been dropped. I had to sell it to my staff sergeant, the motor pool sergeant, because he had a country band, and he wanted to play it, and the neck had broke off of it. Like a couple of times there was a hairline crack back here. Not this guitar, the Gibson. I sold it to him, and he tried to get it glued a couple of times, and the neck kept flying off into the audience. So he gave it back to me because I was the original owner. When I got out of the Army, and I brought it home and sent it away, and got it fixed by Gibson. And they sent it back to me, and I traded it in on Martin. This thing was brand new in '68. This is what the road will do to you.
Yeah.
You know, the guitar now is retired, and I'm still out there singing.
Yeah.
You know, the guitar, you look at it, strange, and gets a crack in it. This is from Harlan Howard's first birthday bash.
But didn't you write? You wrote it pretty much every song.
I wrote it just about 90% of my songs. Certainly, all the first 8 albums on this guitar here.
And so you would play that on the road then, in addition to writing the songs.
Yeah.
So
All I had was the one guitar. Wow. You know, anything else I had, it was always a spare guitar. But this was the main deal. And then this one sounded so sweet. The more you play a guitar like this, the better it sounds. And I played the heck out of it.
Yeah, you sure did.
So it had a lot of good songs in there. Is there anything left in there? Come on out.
What's written on the guitar strap there?
That was from a fan.
Oh, okay.
They just sent me the strap, and the strap was already broken in. I think the guy used it already, so that's why it was so soft. I figured I'd use it again.
Oh, that's nice. Wow.
Yeah.
Moving on to a bit of show and tell. Never too precious with his own material, Prine dove into an archive box of published and discarded lyrics.
So, John, these are two of the boxes that you
That's
were
what I'm
sent.
told. I haven't seen the contents
All
of
right,
these.
well, let's
since,
open them up, and you can.
Okay.
And these are basically the scrap material that songs would.
Well, these are now archived.
Oh, okay.
So these are
Okay.
two boxes from the archive.
I thought everything was on the back of a Kleenex and in my wallet. I found I have boxes of them.
So there's a lot of stuff in here that pertains to the.
This is from my sister-in-law, the archivist, who she listed what's in here. But this is the Tree of Forgiveness. But this is the album. This isn't my handwriting. This is a forger for John Prine. What is that? That's just notes from the studio.
Let's see. This is newspaper cuttings. Let's see. This
like
looks like
fan
you.
mail.
This looks like you.
Oh yeah.
This looks like
It's
you.
definitely my writing.
Yeah.
My writing, I always used to get sent down to the principal because all graffiti looks like my handwriting. This is my handwriting. Little brown mouse running around a frying pan, trying to get to heaven as fast as he can. There's a fried egg chasing him.
And so those are the years, presumably, that this is.
No, those are the numbers in the
I have
archive.
Oh, I
numbers.
see. Oh, okay. All right.
Once your life has been archived, it all has numbers on it.
Yeah. So this is the
Yeah.
latest.
Oh,
albums.
these were different. These were just different
Sequences for the record.
sequences for the record.
Bound as Love, Crazy Bone. Summer's End, Wrong Reverb.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I haven't seen a song lyric except for Little Brown Mouse. No Ordinary Blue is a song I wrote with my good buddy Keith Sachs from Memphis.
And is
These look like finished lyrics, aren't these? You have to dig down into them to get pieces of them. You know, usually by the time I see something that's got a verse or something, as soon as I see it, I just get reminded of it, and it comes back into like fair choosing for the song.
There's one that didn't ever got finished.
Wow, no wonder it's awful.
That one, is it?
Yeah.
What is it?
This is called All Day.
I shouted hooray.
Turned up the volume. You turned up the volume, erased the problem. I had no problem rhymed with volume from my mind, but the question was the best one. Just leave the past behind. Oh, this is part of No Ordinary Blue.
Yeah.
See, you leave out the bad parts and sing the good parts.
I feel like I'm falling, like I'm crawling on a thin line just to keep the peace. I don't know, what's that from?
It doesn't rhyme, no wonder.
And would this be, when you were in the hotel room, does it get to this level? I mean, or is this what you...
I can't tell because all of my writing looks the same since 3rd grade.
Yeah.
Yeah, this all came out of the hotel room.
Yeah,
this
yeah.
was all there.
And is that a black Sharpie on...
Black Sharpie. I got them everywhere. I always carry one with me. Yeah, this one made the song. The orange moon is rising on the horizon. On the outskirts of my mind. I never thought I'd say that in a song, but I did now. I'm committed.
You mentioned that you carried around scraps in your wallet.
Yeah.
Is that where the songs start?
Yeah, usually the songs start and end here. And I usually don't commit to paper until I think I have either a good part of the song or the whole song is done. Like I did with Sam Stone. Wrote it on the mail route, and I just committed it to paper so I wouldn't forget it.
Right.
Yeah.
When you've described, I think, Dear Abby, Oldest Baby in the World, I'm trying to think of some other songs you've talked about. You've been reading the paper, and something struck you, and you just kind of tore it out and kept it with you. Is that a process you still do?
Yeah, I do, and I forget where I put it. You know?
I find that.
And I'm not surprised if there's something in here that I haven't seen since I tore it out of a paper.
Yeah.
Or I see things written on napkins sometimes.
Look at how many pages there are here, and there's probably only one page written on this whole thing. Gone in the afternoon. Woo! Oh, man. Wow.
That one never got written.
No, that's why. Did you see that opening line?
Yeah.
Okay. The Tree of Forgiveness. I bet that's a good title.
Yeah.
I tried to write a song called that, couldn't get anywhere with it. So I ended up making it a bar, the name of a bar in the song When I Get to Heaven. Yeah, nobody can argue with me. Yeah. See, an empty folder. That's it.
Well, the idea went somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
So Fiona, do you ever hear him say something or hear something through his ear and think, you know, maybe I'll hear that in a song some year down the line?
I hear that with melodies. Sometimes when you pick up the guitar and you're tuning or you're just noodling, I'll hear a melody. I'll hear something I haven't heard before. It's usually really pretty. Yeah. And I'll say, is that new? And he ignores me. He's afraid I might ask him to write a song.
There's many times that I don't think I have one idea about or even how to write a song. Yeah. I mean, as soon as I finish one, I wonder if it'll be the last song. Because when I go to write a song, I don't know anything more now than I did 45 years ago about writing. Yeah. You know, it's just it's got. I do know that my attention is hard to get, and why? Just because I got all this junk floating around, you know, and some of that junk ends up becoming good songs, you know, and it's tough to. I don't do it with any kind of order whatsoever. So this is as close to order as you'll ever see.
Yeah, yeah.
Getting your life archived.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's pretty sweet, though, as having. And is this just this last year? Is that what's in these, or is this a bigger archive?
This is there's a huge archive.
There's 8 fireproof lockers downstairs with stuff in it.
Every album, every project,
Oh, wow.
every year of his career. Yeah.
I haven't looked at it. I'm afraid to. I don't know what's in there.
It's quite a lot. It's a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder. So, if you ever have looked at any of that stuff, though, have you ever thought, I don't even know? Does it come back to you, or do you think, I don't even know who that person was who wrote that?
No, I can look through something 40 years ago, and I know if it came from me or from somebody else.
Yeah. Fiona, John talked about family. What's he like as a dad?
Oh, the boys adore him. He's just a big softie. When I was telling a friend just the other day that when the boys were younger, the 2 younger ones, when they were small, 8 or 9 years old, and Sunday night, you know, they were in bed, it was 8 o'clock, everybody quiet, school the next day. John would come rolling in from the road, 9:30, 10 o'clock, suitcase full of toys, you know, everybody's up, it's like Christmas morning. So, I mean, I know they have really good memories of growing up with their dad. And
It was a reason for me to go back to toy stores.
yeah.
You know, when I was 49 when Fiona and I had our first boy, and like I say, you can't go roaming through toy stores if you don't have somebody to buy them for. You know? So every week I'd come home with a suitcase full of toys, and the boys would run and sit on the bed and close their eyes. And it was like Christmas. It was every week when Dad came home. Yeah.
And I'd be like, okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, Mom was doing all the work.
Right.
But now it's really sweet to see them. You know, they're 23 and 24,
Yeah.
Jack and Tommy, and they both sing, play guitar, they both write songs. So it's really interesting to watch.
And what's that like for you to watch that at the singing?
Really great.
Yeah.
Really great. You know, the boys have a love for it, and they took right to it. You know, you can't force somebody to play and sing. You know, so I just let them at it, and they're great.
They both picked up the guitar and just started playing. I mean, there was no question of could they or would they be able to. They just did.
Yeah.
They'd watched it for so long. Yeah.
I've never been able to teach anybody to play the guitar. I just figured a lot of people learn to play the guitar because they figured when they see me do it, they figured if he can do it, anybody can.
Well, and a lot of people pick up the guitar to play your songs to their kids.
Right.
I mean, that's what I did.
Yeah.
You know? And what is that like for you when people talk about, you know, singing your songs in their families?
It's great because it's the most honest way for your music to get around. I mean that by instead of having a hit record and 28 managers and all of this stuff going on, and people hear it because it's a hit, then it must be good, so they'll listen to it until they like it. People pass my songs on because they feel like they want to sing them for their kids, and the kids grow up with them, and they're coming to my shows, and now the grandkids are coming to my shows, and they tell me that they grew up, their household always had 1 or 2 of my songs being either sung or played the record, you know. It's a good, if there's an honest way to make this living, it's a good honest way to make it. Yeah.
We get a lot of letters from, you know, from young people whose parents and grandparents have turned them on to John's music.
That's great.
Yeah, it's lovely.
Next to his lyrical archives and vintage guitars, John Prine collects classic cars. He took the wheel as we drove through Nashville.
This is my beauty, a '99 Cadillac DeVille. Wow. It rides like a Cadillac ought to.
I feel like I could just take a nap in here. This is so comfortable.
I know.
And you've always been a Cadillac fan?
Well, since I started making money, you know, Cadillacs are like Cadillacs, especially older ones. I just found an '82 with 6,000 miles on it. I started liking Cadillacs like in long about 1978. I bought one. When I first moved down to Nashville, I bought a white Coupe de Ville, and haven't looked back since. I mean, I've been buying Cadillacs ever since. I don't buy the new ones. They ride too stiff. They make them like to compete with competition cars now. You know, they have an actual Cadillac that they race.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Was the Cadillac for you? Was it ever the kind of thing where you said, when I make it big enough, I'm going to get a Cadillac?
No, it was after I moved to Nashville.
Okay.
In my mind was, well, you know, if you're a country star in Nashville, you gotta have a Cadillac and a guitar. And I just and I went down to I think I met a buddy that happened to work at a dealership. You know, I was singing one night in a bar here, and he said, "Come on by the dealership sometime." I think that's how I initially saw that white Coupe de Ville. I just had to have it. I got a red Coupe de Ville down in Florida. We got a little house down near St. Pete Beach. I got a red one down there with white interior and a white top.
And where do you find old Cadillacs?
Online.
Online.
Yeah.
So.
And luckily all the ones I bought have been really good deals. The engine didn't fall out or the headlights fall out or nothing. They're good cars.
Is that what you're doing some nights at midnight when you open your laptop?
I'm looking at, that's the last thing before I go to bed, is I look at all the cars I've amassed on eBay and other things. I bought probably 4 or 5 cars over the years online.
Wow.
I'll pull the hammer down just to like around 2 in the morning, so I don't have to deal with the guy until the next day.
When did you feel like you had not made it, but that you were now a singer-songwriter, not just a mailman who was doing this on the side?
Almost, actually, when I committed to start my own record company,
Okay.
I was 81.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew that's what I was doing for a living during the 70s, but there was something really bothering me, and what was bothering me was the major labels.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like I was in a constant argument with them. I just didn't think that they understood what I was doing with my music, because I'd go out on the road, and me and the audience were always peachy keen. Everything was great,
Yeah.
you know. And I'd go to the record companies and I'd go in the studio and to make a record, and it just wasn't the same thing. It's not what I did for a living, you know. But I wanted to know. That's part of the reason I wanted to start my own label was I wanted to know everything. I wanted to know if I sold 37 records.
Right.
I mean, let me know. You know, I didn't want there to be a space between me and the audience, and that's partially why I started the record company. I started with my business partner and longtime manager, Al Bonetta.
Mm-hmm.
He managed Steve Goodman and me, and Al just passed real sudden about 4 or 5 years ago, and that's when we took over the record company and made it a family deal.
Uh-huh. Was that a bigger leap, creating Oh Boy Records, than the
It
leap
was.
to get
I couldn't have done it without my partner, without Al. He had the business savvy to do that, and he'd already done it with Steve Goodman.
Yeah.
Because Steve started his own label, like a mail order thing. And I just felt better about what I was doing because I had a direct connection to the people that came to the shows, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what I was missing, was that direct connection I felt when I was playing live.
Speaking of the direct connection that you have, what do you make of it when people say they listen to your music and, well, two reactions I get the most. One is people say it brings them, inexpressible joy, and the others say it can make them cry. What is that? How does that make you feel as the guy who?
Well, I know that I really like a good sad song.
Yeah.
I mean, when I'm the listener and I'm sitting in a club and I like the band, I always, like a bluegrass band or something, I'll holler, "Hey, play a sad one." You know, I like sad songs. I love the old country songs that where the guy drags the woman down by the river and kills her, and then goes home to his mother with a bloody T-shirt, stuff like that.
That's not
right
just
up,
sad.
It's right up my alley.
Gothic. You know that song, Old Hometown? What did they do to the Old Hometown? Why did, no, is that, yeah, the Old Hometown. He marries a girl, moves to Charlottesville, and then she leaves him, and he tries to go back home, and the town doesn't exist anymore. That feels like a good depressing song.
Yeah.
But what does it feel like when you're the author of those songs? I mean,
Well, my early songs, I know I killed off a lot the lead character in a lot of my songs. Sam Stone, the guy, overdoses, and 6 o'clock news, the kid jumps off a building, and I mean, I think I did all that because I was looking for drama, you know, when there was enough drama and real life drama going on around me.
yeah.
I always like details in songs.
Mm-hmm.
I like to put like an ashtray in the room before you start talking about emotions in songs. Like put something in the song that everybody can relate to.
Yeah.
You know, well, I got an ashtray in my room. I got this, and then you go into the characters, and then the listener is already connected to the story before even the story starts.
Right.
You know, they can it's an everyday room, knick-knack shelf, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I think as a writer that kind of draws the people into when you start talking about emotions in the song between the characters, things that you can't see. You know, the listener is already able to. It's like a novelist with you want to set up the whole thing so it's believable when you talk about stuff that you can't touch or doesn't really. You can't see it, but it exists. You know.
So when you say "God bless this kitchen," said the knick-knack shelf, everybody has had an experience in their life with a knick-knack shelf.
Right.
They know.
That has something on it that says "God bless our happy home," you know. But instead of saying all of that, you just say the knick-knack shelf said, you know, I can never remember the lines to my songs. It's like the ABCs. I have to start at the beginning of the song to remember the whole thing.
Yeah. And what is it? God bless this kitchen, said the knick-knack shelf. Dinner's
Almost ready. Go and wash yourself. That song, I think, looking back on it, I still do that when we open the show with it now. Just instead of doing a fast one or a rocker, I opened with "Blow Up Your TV" for years, but we started opening with 6 o'clock news. I think the song, I don't think I had a story there I wanted to tell. It was really an exercise in detail, because the whole song sits up in real fine detail, and then I think the story was secondary. Now that I listen to it.
That's interesting. So you're just painting a picture.
Yeah.
As opposed to telling a specific narrative.
Right.
Yeah. That's really interesting. So when you're songwriting, if the first thing that strikes you is a story, do you then say, okay, I have a story in my head, now I need the grounding detail? I mean, do you know to
it's kind of intuitive to go to that. You know, I can't really think. I don't think about songwriting. If I'm writing with somebody else, it makes more sense to talk about it like that. But I never know what I'm looking for when I'm writing by myself. I'm waiting for that one thing that I could put my finger on or touch, you know, and then everything else will come out of that.
Yeah.
I have no idea where the ideas for songs come from. Some of them are very real. They'll come from a newspaper article or a story somebody's telling me about something. Like Egg and Daughter Night on Tree of Forgiveness. That was directly this buddy of mine sitting in a boat telling me this whole story about how they used to wait for the farm girls to come to town and they were brought there by their fathers that were selling eggs. And he sits back in the fishing boat and he goes, yeah, we used to call Thursday nights egg and daughter night. And that was all of a sudden, all the lights went off for me. I was on a fishing vacation. I didn't think I was looking for a song. I said, you say that again. He said it again. I said, man, that's going to be a song. I just got his town wrong.
You got his town wrong?
Yeah,
in the
he
song?
wasn't. He'd never been to Lincoln, Nebraska. He grew up in Norfolk, Nebraska. He didn't tell me that until after I cut the record.
Well, that'll keep him out of trouble if you can't get traced back to him from any.
He appreciates the story.
Do you tend to see people, or do stories kind of spool out for you once you see some interesting telling detail? You said the lights went on.
Well, it was egg and daughter night to me, the whole idea.
Yeah.
And Eileen, that was back there at the house, she works at Old Boy. Eileen one day put in egg and daughter night, like after I cut it, but the record wasn't out yet, to see if it was a real thing. And by golly, it turned out to be a real deal. It went back to covered wagon days when like a guy would have a rancher or a farmer would have 6 or 7 daughters, and one of them could cook, and he'd keep the one that could cook, and he'd drop the rest in town, hoping they'd get married. And they called it egg and daughter night. A guy sent me an essay he wrote. He was from Nebraska, way out in the sticks, and he wrote an essay called Egg and Daughter Night. And I said, this is great. I said, you vindicated my song. I thought it was just my imagination running away with this phrase, Egg and Daughter Night.
I read somewhere that I can't remember who the musician was, but you came home and told Fiona, you have to go listen to him, go put it on in the car and go driving. Is there something different about listening to music while you're driving as opposed to just listening to it at home?
Yeah, because you're kind of detached from it. It's not. But that's why I think of songs sometimes when I'm driving it. Driving kind of takes you got to know what you're around you and everything, so you have something you're doing.
Yeah.
And that's when the other half of your mind can go off. You have to know you're doing something. Nobody ever told me that. I just figured it out. And one of the things for me is driving a car. It allows you to roam.
Mm-hmm. And that's what you were saying about the mail route too.
Exactly. Yeah, because you're doing something, even though you do the same thing every day. Like you go down the same street. The reason I say that because about my 3rd week as a mailman, I went down the wrong street and delivered the mail for 4 blocks, both sides of the street, because the addresses were the same.
Yeah.
And then we discovered I delivered the wrong mail. And by that time the sun had gone down, and I had to go back and knock at every door while they're eating dinner and get the mail back and hand them the right mail. I got in about 8 o'clock that night. I remember always check and make sure you're on the same street because they all look the same.
Yeah, yeah. And you did that for 5 years.
Yeah,
right?
6 years.
6 years.
Well, 2 of the years I was when I was drafted,
Uh-huh.
but that all counts for because you're working for the government.
Right.
So I can relate to these people doing without checks.
Yeah.
If I was a mailman, I'd be right now it's about 20 below in Chicago with the wind blowing all the time. And those people are delivering mail, not getting any check at the end of 2 weeks.
Yeah, I saw you helped feed the TSA agents in
Yeah,
Nashville.
that was our son Jody's idea. He came to me with it, and I said, boy, I couldn't imagine a better thing to do because those guys all know me by my name.
Mm-hmm.
I go out there, and the TSA guys are all shouting over through the security thing. They go, where are you going? Where are you doing a show this week? Or I saw you in Austin City Limits. They're all real nice people. And they try and put me through a minimum of of a hassle when I got to go through the security thing.
Yeah.
So I figured what better thing to do than to go out and feed them when they're not getting any check. And it's been a month now. We are there.
No, great.
Just coming up to it now. Well, we did pretty good. For Friday night rush hour. This is it here on the left. They had a really nice mural of the Carter family on the side here.
Oh. And they were like,
There's really good guitar stores in this town all over the place, but this one is smaller, and they're real nice people. Nashville just got like this in the last 5 years.
is that right?
Oh, people come here, everybody. So they discovered that it wasn't just country music, that it's just a great place to live. 100 people a week are moving here. It's been that way for a year now.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. What else brings them here other than
It's a great place to live.
Uh-huh.
And as far as music, there's all kinds of music here. It's not just country music. A lot of rock and roll guys live here, and pop. So, it's the easiest place to be a songwriter. I mean, in LA, you have to drive an hour and a half to co-write.
Yeah.
And here, you just, everybody you bump into, is a songwriter. When I go to the grocery store, I used to come home when cassettes were big. My pockets were full of cassettes. The girl checking you out was a singer, and the guy bagging the groceries was a songwriter. And the neat thing was, it was kind of like the stories about early Hollywood, that when people get off the train and say, I'm going to be a star. I met a lot of kids in this town that I ran into them the first day or the first week they were here, and I wish them good luck. And by golly, next thing you know, they got a hit song as a songwriter, or like 5 years later, they're singing in somebody's band. It actually happens here.
Did that happen with Casey Musgrave? Or was she...
I met Casey when I first met her. She had that song, Burn One with John Prine. She wrote that before she came to Nashville. And she introduced herself to me at a show. We did an annual Christmas show called The Whole Damn Family. And she came up to me. I remember meeting her and her girlfriend. They wanted to take me out in the parking lot to do a joint. And I said, I can't, I gotta go do a show. And she hands me a cassette going, I wrote a song called Burn One with John Prine. I want you to hear it. I didn't hear it for a couple of weeks, and I couldn't believe how good a song it was. Next thing I know, she's Casey Musgrave.
Yeah.
Boy, she's doing great.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for her and Brandy Carlisle for those big prizes at the Grammys.
Mm-hmm.
They deserve it. They know. Casey, she knows what to do with a big audience. It wouldn't shake her at all. You know? You have to be ready for that. I don't think people realize that. You gotta really want that to be a big star. For years, part of the reason that all this stuff happened this last year is because Fiona's my manager now. I don't know. I can't say no to her. My old manager, I go, are you kidding me? I don't want to do that stuff. I just want to go sing my songs, wait for these guys again. There's John Prine again. And I go, I just want to, in the old days, when I got off stage, I could change my shirt and people wouldn't know me.
Yeah.
I could walk through the audience, and they wouldn't hardly know me. Now, I can't go to pick up my mail. They're all over. People that don't know what I do for a living recognize me now in the street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have they ever mistaken you for some other,
Well, they say John Hyatt. I think he gets the same thing.
Yeah.
Like anybody that's named John, they'll
Right.
go John. I remember in New Orleans once, I was there in Mardi Gras, and a girl tumbled out of a T-shirt shop. She bumped into me. She went, "Hey, you're John Prine." And I said, "Yeah, you're right." And she goes, "You are not." Just like that fast. Yeah. They recognize you, and then they go, no, you're an imposter.
Finally, we parked at Carter Vintage Guitars, a beautiful shop in downtown Nashville. Our day culminated with a John Prine masterclass.
Walter here that owns this place, he worked for George, and he just created his own business, and he's always got some sweet, sweet acoustic guitars. So watch your wallet. They'll try and sell you one. 43. What's that say?
Yeah, 1943.
Is it?
A Gibson J45.
Wow, this thing's older than me. I always feel, I don't know about you, but I go to a guitar store and, you know, even like amateurs know like 20 times more, or they know at least one song where they can go up way up and pick. And I go into a guitar store and I'm sitting there going, you know, and these guys are picking out all these things.
Right, right.
I swear, I think I always swore I'd get a guitar with just 3 frets on it because I never go up here. This is all virgin territory to me.
But even Travis picking for me is a real challenge. So you know.
I just did it over and over until one day I took the guitar out of the case and my fingers were just, you know, my thumb locked into that steady bass beat.
Yeah.
And that's the whole trick, I think, of Travis picking. I can't Travis pick. I just do the simple parts, you know, make it look good.
Well, but whatever you figured out how to do, there are now scores of people on YouTube who will teach you how to play like John Prine. So whatever you're doing.
My style is a mistake, is what it is. I make the same mistake at 8 o'clock every night. And I was trying to pick like Elizabeth Cotton and Mississippi John Hurt, who was a huge influence on anybody that picked up a guitar from the folk movement in the 60s. You know, Mississippi John Hurt, like, it just looks and sounds so simple. You'd think he could do it, you know. And still, I saw a thing on John Hurt 3 nights ago on YouTube. I don't know how he does it, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
He smiles and sings, and his hands are just gliding across the guitar. Yeah. But it was certainly, it caught my imagination, along with a lot of other people. And it's easier for me to write a song with finger picking than it is with just playing rhythm guitar, you know.
You picked up a guitar at 14. Your brother taught you?
Yeah, I got a guitar when I was 14. I couldn't play it until I was 17. Me and my buddy who lived across the street, we both got guitars for our 14th Christmas, and all we played was Rebel Rouser by Dwayne Hay. And so anything that you could play on 2 strings, we could play, yeah. And then my brother taught himself how to play the guitar and fiddle and mandolin. And when he taught himself how to play the fiddle, he needed somebody to play rhythm guitar while he was playing. And it sounded awful. It was all squeaking and squawking, yeah. And so he taught me 3 chords and taught me to play fiddle tunes, and that's how I started playing. And right after that, I wrote my first song really early, you know.
And then did you study folk music in Chicago?
No, there was the Old Town School of Folk Music. Yeah. The reason it appealed to me is because you didn't have to learn to read music. They would teach you by ear.
Oh, okay. And
you would walk out of there that first week, go into a class there, you would go home and you could play a song, an old folk song, you know. And I went there for about 6 weeks, like one class a week. And the guy was a bluegrass, he really liked bluegrass music, so he would teach you bluegrass runs and stuff, and that was all interesting to me. And then I got drafted and then went away and came back, and I went back to the Old Town School, but by that time I could play pretty good on my own. Yeah.
Is there a song when you pick up a guitar that you always go to that's like your, that's your...
No, I just start kind of absent-mindedly finger pick, you know. If I pick long enough, I'll go into a John Prine song.
Yeah. Play us one from the new album.
All right. If you like your apples sweet and your streets are not concrete, you'll be in your bed by 9 every night. Take your hand-spanked corn-fed gal and your best friend's four-eyed pal to a treat right down the street that's dynamite. Let your conscience be your guide if you put your foot inside. You wish you left you well enough alone. When you got hell to pay, put the truth on layaway and blame it on that old crazy bone. Crazy bone, crazy bone. Well, you wish you left you well enough alone. When you got hell to pay, put the truth on layaway and blame it on that old crazy bone. This is the good part. Don't be stuck up in Alaska. When you should be in Nebraska. On a Thursday, when it's egg and daughter night. When the farmers come to town and you spread them eggs around and they drop their daughters down at the roller rink. Well, you're probably standing there with your slick back bro cream hair, your luckies and your daddy's fine-tooth comb. If you knew where you were thinking, they'd run you out of Lincoln and just blame it on that old crazy bone. Crazy bone. Crazy bone. Well, you must have left that wisdom tooth at home. If you knew where you were thinking, they'd run you out of Lincoln. Just blame it on that old crazy bone. Here comes that crazy bone. Dee-da-da-da-ba-da-ba. Skeet-a-da-da-da-da-do. Skeet-a-da-ba. Bee-da-da-da-ba-ba-boo. Skeet-a-da-da-ba-da-boo. Dee-da-da-da-ba-da-boo. Skeet-a-da-ba. Dee-da-da-da-da-da-do. Now that ain't scat singing, you know that, John?
Yeah.
That's my shaving song in the morning when nobody can see me and I'm looking in the mirror with shaving cream all over my face. Actually, I was trying to describe to the producer of the record, Dave Cobb, where I thought the horns should go on this. And he thought what I was doing with my shaving song sounded better than horns. Now here's the moral to this story. Where's it going now? How do you get back to it after I talk so much? Oh, when your grandkids all are grown and they put you in a home and eternity is approaching fast. Yeah, you're half out of your head and you probably pissed the bed and you can't see a thing to save your posterior or went far across the prairie in a local cemetery. They already got your name carved out in stone. When all them nurses say, Grandpa, why you walk that way? Just blame it on that old crazy bone. And everybody in that old folks' home, yeah, blame it on that old crazy bone. Crazy bone. It's a real showman piece there. This is a song I wrote for my father, because him and my mother were from Muhlenberg County, and my dad loved nothing better than driving down from Chicago down to Western Kentucky and taking his boys down to Paradise, and we just saw it through his eyes, and it was like a make-believe place to us, you know. When I was a child, my family would travel down to Western Kentucky, where my parents were born. There's a backwards old town that's often remembered so many times that my memories are worn. Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train is hauled it away. Well, sometimes we travel right down the Green River to the abandoned old prison down by Adria Hill, where the air smelled like snakes and we'd shoot with our pistol, but empty pop bottles was all that we killed. Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train is hauled it away. Now we have to do a solo.
That's on you.
Really pick a solo, so I just play loud. That's a solo. Then the coal company came with the world's largest shovel. They tortured the timber and they stripped all the land. They dug for their coal till the land was forsaken, and then they wrote it all down as the progress of man. Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train is hauled it away. I'll save everybody by not playing another solo. Now when I died, let my ashes float down the Green River and let my soul roll on up to the Rochester Dam. I'll be halfway to heaven with paradise waiting, just 5 miles away from wherever I am. Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train is hauled it away. Yeah. All right.
Oh, man.
You sound pretty good there, John.
Oh, well, all I did was just grow up listening to John Prine, and I would sing that song to my kids.
Oh, really?
To write when they were little babies, to put them, because they wouldn't go to sleep, so I had to sing them songs. And so I just worked my way through the John Prine songbook, but Paradise was always in there. Man.
Well, I always liked singing that song. My dad loved that song because he was in it. You know?
Yeah.
I wanted him to know I was a songwriter. That's part of the reason I wrote that song. I wanted him to connect to the song because he always liked me to sit in the kitchen and sing Hank Williams Sr. songs for him and Roy Acuff songs and stuff. And I wanted him to know that I could do that too, you know. So I wrote Paradise. It was his story, basically, you know.
And then My Mexican Home, the last verse, is about...
It was about when he died. He died on the front porch, sitting there watching the cars go by. Yeah.
And had you'd been with him earlier that day?
I had. That was after I got out of the Army.
Yeah.
And I was sitting talking with him on the porch, and then I said, well, I was married and I'd moved out of the house and I lived across town. I said, well, I gotta go home now. And he said, well, stick around and talk some more to your old man. You know, I didn't know I'd never see him again.
Yeah.
So I wrote that song. I put it in there.
Yeah. It's a beautiful song.